There comes a moment in life when you realize you've been carrying the weight of everyone's opinions for far too long. You worry about what people think, how they react, whether they approve, whether they understand you, whether they clap for you. And slowly, without noticing, you stop living for yourself. People spend years trapped inside invisible prisons created by their own thoughts. They walk into rooms worried about how they look, how they sound, whether people like them, whether they are being judged, and whether they are enough. Every small mistake feels massive in their mind because they believe everyone notices everything they do. But the truth is far simpler than most people realize. Most people are too busy dealing with their own insecurities, fears, responsibilities, and personal struggles to spend much time analyzing you. The embarrassment you replay in your head for days is often forgotten by others within minutes. That awkward thing you said, the mistake you made, or the moment you stumbled is not living in everyone else's mind the way it lives in yours. Many people hold themselves back from opportunities because they are afraid of criticism. They avoid speaking up. Or starting businesses, chasing dreams, posting content, or trying something new because they imagine people will judge them harshly. But people will always have opinions no matter what you do. If you succeed, some will criticize you. If you fail, some will criticize you. Trying to control everyone's perception is impossible. And the more you try, the more exhausted you become. Freedom begins when you realize you do not need universal approval to move forward in life. The most confident people are not the ones who are loved by everyone. They are the ones who understand that other people's opinions are temporary and often meaningless. Once you stop imagining that the world is constantly watching your every move, you begin to live differently. You take risks without fear controlling you. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into other people's expectations. You become more authentic, more courageous, and more focused on your own growth instead of wasting energy trying to impress people who are too distracted by their own lives to truly pay attention. Caring too much about what others think slowly drains your energy in ways you don't even notice at first. It starts with small thoughts. Why? Or replay conversations in your mind wondering if you said the right thing. You overanalyze people's facial expressions, trying to decode whether they approved of you or not. You hesitate before making decisions because you imagine how every possible person might react. Over time, this constant mental noise becomes exhausting because your mind is no longer focused on your goals, but on managing imaginary expectations. When you live like this, you begin to lose connection with yourself. Instead of asking what you truly want, you start asking what others will accept. Instead of moving forward with confidence, you pause repeatedly to seek reassurance. This habit slowly weakens your clarity and makes even simple decisions feel heavy. Your attention becomes scattered and your emotional energy gets consumed by things that do not truly matter in the long run. The truth is, not every opinion deserves space in your mind. Not every reaction needs to be analyzed. Not every person needs to be pleased. When you try to carry the emotional weight of everyone around you, you end up neglecting your own growth. You become tired without doing anything meaningful because your energy is being spent. Or T on unnecessary thinking instead of purposeful action. Real strength begins when you start protecting your energy like it is your most valuable resource. Because it is. Once you stop overthinking people's opinions, your mind becomes lighter. You start thinking clearly again. You start acting with intention instead of hesitation. And slowly you realize that peace is not found in pleasing everyone, but in finally allowing yourself to focus on what truly moves your life forward. Rejection often feels like a personal attack, but in reality, it is one of the most misunderstood parts of growth. People assume that being rejected means they are not good enough, not smart enough, or not worthy of success or love. This belief creates fear, and that fear stops many people from even trying. They avoid opportunities, they hold back their ideas, and they silence their voice just to protect themselves from possible rejection. But by doing that, they reject their own potential long before the world ever gets a chance to respond. Rejection is not a final statement about who you are. It is simply a moment, a response, or a mismatch between timing, direction, or expectations. Sometimes people read you, or CT what they do not understand. Sometimes they reject what challenges their comfort zone. And sometimes they reject something not because it lacks value, but because it does not align with what they are ready for at that moment. None of these reasons define your worth. The strongest individuals are not those who avoid rejection, but those who continue despite it. They learn to separate their identity from other people's opinions. They understand that every no is not a stop sign, but a redirection towards something more aligned. Instead of letting rejection break their confidence, they use it as feedback, as experience, and as motivation to improve and grow stronger. If you allow rejection to control you, your life becomes smaller and more limited. But if you learn to accept it as part of the process, your world expands. You become willing to take risks, try again, and step into spaces that once felt intimidating. Over time, rejection loses its power, and what remains is resilience, courage, and the ability to keep moving forward no matter what response you receive. Not every situation in life deserves your reaction, and not every person deserves your explanation. One of the big four sources of stress come from trying to win every argument, correct every misunderstanding, and defend yourself in front of people who are not even trying to understand you. When you constantly feel the need to prove your point, you give away your peace piece by piece without realizing it. Many arguments are not about truth. They are about ego. People often speak from emotion, assumption, or personal bias rather than logic. When you step into every disagreement trying to fix it, you end up draining your energy on battles that were never worth fighting. You may win the argument, but lose your calmness in the process. And in life, losing your peace is a much higher cost than losing an opinion. There is strength in silence that most people underestimate. Choosing not to respond does not mean you are weak. It means you are aware of where your energy should go. When you stop reacting to every insult, every criticism, and every negative comment, you begin to regain control over your emotions. You stop being easily triggered and start becoming more grounded in your own sense of self. Protecting your peace means understanding that you do not need to convince everyone. Some people will or misunderstand you no matter how clearly you speak. Some will judge you no matter how well you behave. And some will disagree simply because they want to. Accepting this truth frees you from unnecessary emotional battles. When you stop trying to win every argument, you start winning something far more valuable. You gain clarity, stability, and emotional strength. You begin to respond only when it matters and remain silent when it doesn't. And in that silence, you discover a level of control over your life that arguments could never give you. Confidence does not come from being liked by everyone or constantly receiving approval from others. It is built in the quiet moments when you decide to trust yourself even when no one is clapping for you. The more you depend on validation, the more fragile your confidence becomes because it rises and falls based on other people's reactions instead of your own inner belief. When you stop seeking approval for every decision, something powerful begins to shift within you. You start relying less on opinions and more on experience. You begin to understand that not everyone will understand your vision, and that is completely normal. People judge or asked on their perspective, not your potential. So if you keep waiting for everyone to agree with you, you will stay stuck in the same place for a very long time. True confidence grows when you act despite uncertainty. When you speak, even if your voice shakes. When you try, even if you are not fully ready. When you move forward without needing permission from the world. Every time you choose yourself over fear, your self-trust becomes stronger. And self-trust is the foundation of real confidence. People who are overly focused on approval often lose their originality. They start shaping their personality, choices, and dreams around what others will accept. But when you break free from that mindset, you become more authentic. You stop performing for attention and start living with purpose. You stop adjusting your life to fit expectations and start building it according to your vision. As you care less about approval, your confidence stops depending on external reactions. You become more stable, more focused, and more grounded in who you are. You no longer feel the need to explain or justify every step you take. Instead, you move with quiet certainty, knowing that your path does not require permission to exist. There comes a point in life where you realize that holding on to everyone's opinions, expectations, and judgments is too heavy a burden to carry. Life becomes much more peaceful when you stop trying to control how others see you and start focusing on how you see yourself. People will always have something to say, no matter what direction you choose. If you succeed, they will talk. If you fail, they will talk. If you stay quiet, they will still talk. This simple truth shows that living for approval is a never-ending cycle that keeps you stuck and distracted from your real purpose. Letting go does not mean you stop caring about everything or everyone. It means you stop giving power to things that drain your energy and distract your growth. You release the need to impress, the need to explain, and the need to be understood by everyone. When you do this, your mind becomes clearer, your decisions become stronger, and your life starts moving with more direction instead of confusion. Freedom begins when you stop measuring your worth through other people's reactions. You stop comparing your journey to others and start respecting your own pace. You understand that not everyone is meant to walk with you, and not every opinion is meant to guide you. Some people will never see your vision, and that is okay, because your life is not meant to be lived through their perspective. As you let go, you begin to experience a different kind of strength, a calm strength, a quiet confidence, a steady focus that is not shaken by approval or criticism. You stop chasing validation and start building something real for yourself. And in that space of emotional freedom, you finally start living a life that feels lighter, clearer, and truly your own.